I'd like to introduce our next speaker. I think well known to all of us, but Cynthia Davis, Representative Cynthia Davis, who served in the General Assembly of Missouri in the 94th District. 19th District. This says the 94th District. Did they change it? She's running for Lieutenant Governor of Missouri. You've seen her around here. You know she's a dynamo. She spoke to us last night on how to win elections. And she's going to talk to us today. How are your feet wearing? She's going to tell us today, as a she was a four-term Missouri state representative, and she's going to tell us how to impact the culture. So once again, let's welcome Cynthia Davis.
It is a thrill to be here today, getting to speak to you. There's nothing more exciting than being at the Constitution Party National Convention. I'm joined by some wonderful people from Missouri, and when I told them I was going to be on the platform committee, I suggested we all ride together so we could spend 6 hours in the car talking about the platform, and then they suggested I fly. So anyway, I love being here, and I love impacting the culture. That is what this is all about. Just to give you a little insight on who I am, my husband and I got married 31 years ago, and we have 7 children, and thank you. and we started off happily married. And what happened is we got busy, as what frequently happens, and after about 5 years of marriage, I realized that he wasn't home very much, and I explained, he left every week on Sunday and returned on Friday, and I was very lonely. It was a very dark time for me. And I said to him, I thought we got married so we could live together. And he said, well, I don't want to give up this job that I love more than anything else to do just something boring. So we asked these 3 questions, and I ask you to ask yourself these questions also. What is something we can do that our city didn't have? What's something that they need? And what's something that would raise the moral fiber of our community? And that began the quest. What can we do? And I like to inspire all of you to ask the same question. What can you do to impact your culture? And so for us, the answer was, let's open up a Christian bookstore. And we did that. And that was 23 years ago we've been open. And we named it Back to Basics Christian Bookstore. And I thought, that's essentially what the Constitution Party is trying to do, is bring us back to the basics of our government and how we were founded. And the original recipe that worked years ago will still work today. That's what this is all about. So you wonder, why did she bring her tea to the front? I actually thought I would buy a cup of Starbucks and use it as an excuse that I needed a prop. But then I found you've got Starbucks here. And that's very special because the name Starbucks means something. It's your quality statement. It means you can buy a mocha latte venti for $4.40. Why do people pay $4 or $5 for a cup of coffee from Starbucks? It's because they know they're going to get the same consistent quality every time, all the time. It's because the name Starbucks means something. And I'll tell you another secret. I don't drink coffee from McDonald's because it's not as good as Starbucks. And this party stands for something. And that's our quality. We are way better than, even after talking in the platform committee for a couple days about issues, I realized a lot of the ideology that we hold dear and are willing to pass are things no other party in the country is willing to pass. And that makes us very special. And that's how we're going to impact the culture. What we need to do to impact the culture, we need to start with praying for God's guidance, protection, and direction. That's the beginning of everything. I had a harrowing experience. I didn't know I was about to have one, but I was driving to a campaign event, and I was on the highway, and a pickup truck got on the highway right in front of me. And as pickup trucks with a load full of stuff do, it started to bump as it got up to speed. And there was a full chest with drawers and everything that fell right out of the bed of the pickup truck. And part of it landed on the breakdown lane, and the other part landed in the high-speed lane. And I still can't figure out how I missed having the chest land in my lane. But God was there protecting me. And we're seeing more miracles like that all the time. We are seeing every day the Constitution Party is going forth in big ways. And with God's divine protection and guidance, we are making a difference. And we are seeing amazing things happen. People are donating to my campaign who've never donated to the Constitution Party in their lives. People who didn't even know what the Constitution Party is. And they want to come on board and support me. Everybody wants to do something that's going to actually make a difference. And that's why we have good reason to be proud of ourselves and what we're doing. We need to be brave. We're going to impact the culture if we can get a little bit of courage and be strong and stand up. And you probably don't realize what a powerful woman I am standing in front of you today, but I am single-handedly already being blamed for making Barack Obama get another term in the White House. And you didn't know that, but yes, that's what we're hearing so far on the campaign trail. People saying, do you know that you're going to be the one people, it's because of that third party thing. But I'm not the one. If Barack Obama wins 4 more years, please know that I didn't do it by myself. Thank you. And I want to talk about being brave on another level. And this is something that impacted me back in February when some of you were aware that Chuck Baldwin was he was going to run for lieutenant governor. And that was a very interesting lesson for me. I've been following him ever since I heard about why he moved from Florida to Montana. And he turned down moving to Missouri because he said it's kind of been ruined by the big cities. And he, on his website, has an article about all the other states he turned down because he said it'd just be too hard with the big cities that ruin it. So I went to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, hoping that I could prove a point to him, and I was going to ask him to call me the day after the election and tell me he was wrong, that Missouri really is capable of electing somebody from the Constitution Party. But anyway, for you who have followed him, he wrote this letter in February after running for 3 months. And I'm going to read a little excerpt because I want you to hear the message. He says this: when Bob and I announced my candidacy for lieutenant governor, I said, "We are in this race to win." I realized then that in order to be competitive, there were certain criteria that had to be met. I knew our campaign had to raise a sizable sum of money, and I knew that we had to put together a quality campaign organization. Since making our announcement back in November, this campaign has accomplished neither task. Therefore, it is more than obvious to me that this campaign has no chance of being successful. Really, Chuck? No chance? I mean, that was the question we all have to ask. What, after 3 months you give up and go home? I can't give up and go home. I hope none of you are going to give up and go home. Thank you. Because this is what being brave is all about. It's saying, I don't care, I'm going to, against all odds, get out there and do it because America is waiting. We're providing a grand experiment for the whole country to watch, and we better prove, and we're in a battle for the soul of our states and nation. That's what's at stake. So I do need to give a shameless plug. Because last night in my talk, I talked about the importance of raising money, and I hope all of you will consider donating to my campaign. And I said to the group last night, if you're embarrassed to ask for money, you're not worthy of being a candidate. So I'm asking you for money. But you're going to see it make the biggest bang for the biggest buck because we are making a difference, and people are hungry for a candidate who will speak the truth and be brave and bold and strong and tell them right is right and wrong is wrong and how to fix the country. We have got a great message and a great platform. And if we don't have the tenacity to stay the dark times, we won't be here for the happy times. And I want to give you one story about my Chrysler Sebring, and it just was an amazing story. I had to drive to Jefferson City one day while I was in the house, and I had a car that had an electrical problem. Now, the Capitol is 100 miles from my house, and I started driving, and I got about 70 miles away, and the battery light came on, and I knew we had a problem. So when I went there, I went to AutoZone and asked them if they could fix it, and they said no, they couldn't. So they told me go to a garage. I went to the garage, and I said, can you fix it? And they said, well, we don't have the parts. We'll have them tomorrow. And I'm like, I don't want to wait till tomorrow. So I called my husband and asked him what to do, and he said, Cynthia, just ask them to charge up the battery and bring the car home, and I'll fix the parts tomorrow. So I put the phone down and I told the mechanic, my husband said, can you please just charge up my battery and I will drive my car home and he'll fix it. The mechanic said, you won't make it more than 30 miles. By the time your battery goes down, you won't even be able to be jumped. You'll be at the side of the road and have to be towed. So I picked up my phone and I called my husband and I provided him with that information. And he said, Cynthia, drive the car home anyway, and wherever you get stopped, call me and I'll come and tow you. So being the obedient wife that I am, I did exactly as he ordered, and the mechanic loved me and was gracious and kind and merciful, and he said, I hate to see you do this, but here's the warning. Don't run your radio, don't run your headlights, don't run your wipers, don't run anything, just go. You're only going to make it 30 miles. Well, it was a rainy day, and it was getting dark. But you know, our faith in God inspires us to do greater things yet, even when the external circumstances sometimes don't look that great. So I got in my car, I started driving, and I made it more than 30 miles, and yet all the indicators were happening. I don't know if any of you have had any dealings with hospice, but this is the best way to describe it. There's a syndrome, there are a series of events that happen when the car is going to die. And we watched it. We watched the radio lights go off. I watched the odometer lights go off. The whole dash went off, kept going. Got to the bottom of a hill, and it was very scary because made it to the top, and I thought every mile I go is 1 mile less than my husband has to tow me. Eventually it slowed down, started sputtering, that noise you get when if any of you have ever run out of gas, you know the feeling. And I knew what was happening. And when I got below 55, I prudently pulled into the breakdown lane. I did continue to sputter. And I don't know how slow I was going because my odometer was not working any longer. It felt like I was just at the last minute. I was coasting, it was going very slow. And I was ready to just put it into park and get out and call my husband. But just then, there was the strangest phenomenon happened. As I kept going, my car kept sputtering, and I just kept going. And then there was a moment when it started going a little bit faster, and a little bit faster. And then I looked at my passenger, and I said, I better get out of the breakdown lane, I'm going 55. And it's a good thing I got out of the breakdown lane, because right after that, there was a boat parked in the breakdown lane. And it was so gray and foggy, I wouldn't have even seen it. And I got into, and those from Washington know what foggy looks like. Yeah, that's how I was driving. And I got out of the breakdown lane, and within a short, my dash lights came back on. And I got home, and I told my husband, I'm leaving the car running because you'll never get it started again. Can you take it over to AutoZone and have them fix it? And he said, when he got to AutoZone, they said there's nothing wrong with it. I don't know how to explain it, except that's what this campaign and all of your campaigns are going to be like. It feels dark and scary, and we might feel sometimes like it's foggy, and we might feel like we're in the breakdown lane. But we don't know what God's going to do, and you won't know unless you keep your foot off the brake and let it coast. Thank you. So we can impact the culture if we keep knocking the doors. And we are knocking a lot of doors that have never been knocked by this party before. And one facet of this campaign is I'm connecting with churches. Now, it's not easy because, as I say, knocking doors, there's another side where getting doors slammed. Not fun, but it's part of it. Now, there was an organization in Missouri called Reclaiming Missouri for Christ. And I thought, this is really cool. Why don't we work with them? Because that's a great message. They should be my natural base. Well, they held a conference on 2 days, asked me to speak, and then I got this email from them. Actually, it went to Donna Ivanovich, who is doing a great job helping me organize. And this is what they said to her about putting my name on the flyer. This is the flyer we had to go with. Some of the church leaders were a little worried it would get political with Cynthia. We have assured them what our plan is. Everything is okay now, but to appease them, we left Cynthia's picture off the flyer. All is well. We just don't want to have them change their minds a week out. Does anybody here know what that feels like? Goodness. I think the embarrassment belongs to them. Because we have a stalwart message. We're proud and brave and strong, and we're speaking the truth. And if we're at a point where church folks are afraid of us, then no wonder this nation's in trouble. So what I want to tell you is we have to impact the culture, and one way we'll do it is with party unity. And that's what I love about being with such great like-minded people here today. As we battle for the soul of the state and nation, we have to remember we're in spiritual warfare, but we have to stay together because that's our strength. Let me tell you a little story about spiritual warfare. We have an enemy, and there was a lady who went to the mall, and her husband told her, don't buy anything else, we can't afford any more on the credit card. And she went to the mall for something else and found a dress in the window and thought she'd try it on. And she ended up buying it, so she brought it home, and her husband said, why did you buy that? And she said, well, I tried it on and it just fit perfect and I looked so good. And he said, well, didn't you tell Satan, get thee behind me? And she said, yes, I did. And he said, you look even better from the back. we have got a lot of problems we need to confront and deal with. And I'm capable of debating issues with people in the Missouri legislature. We had some moments. I made the speaker pound the gavel on me once because I was debating a pro-life bill with somebody who kept interrupting me. And it's okay because we're standing strong and clear and brave, but we're a family. And when we come here, it is so cool. You may not realize this, but I had a chance to spend the night in the room of one of these wonderful members, and I didn't even know who she was, but we agree on everything. Isn't that special? We're going to be, it's a relaxing feeling to be with like-minded people. And this is very enriching for all of us to be here today and tomorrow and spend some time recomposing our philosophy and understanding what it's all about, staying together and staying strong. The problem with America is we've turned our elected officials into idols, and we've turned our political parties into cults. And a cult is where people turn off their brain, and it enables them to drink even poisonous Kool-Aid, and they don't even notice or care because the leader just said so. And that's what we're confronting in this culture. But just like they pray in the Lord's Prayer, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And that's what our quest is. Can we find that part and live it and tell people that there's the positive message, that there's hope and change on the way, and it's through doing the right thing. And one of the points I've gotten when I tell people I'm running with the Constitution Party is they will say to me, oh really, they've never won anything. And that we owe it to them to change that now. When we get used to winning elections, things will change. But we're so used to not winning. The best way to describe it is I've been in many parades, obviously. I've been in office. I've probably been in 20 parades. And how it works is they always want you to line up early. They tell you to get there like 2 hours early. And it's very frustrating because you sit around and do nothing for 2 hours. And yet there's a point when the parade starts going, and you better be on your float when it's moving out, or you will get left behind. They won't wait. So we're so used to waiting around that a lot of people are shocked it's time to go now, and you better jump on it. Jump on the float. Jump on the float with me, folks, because we're moving out and we're having a difference already in our culture, and it's fun out here, and we're having a great parade. We're putting on a show. This is showtime. Showtime for the whole country to watch, and we're all at the heart of it, the core of it, the solutions of it. So a lot of people don't engage, though, and this, I know I'm not the people here, but the people who are still unengaged. And I have a little poem I'd like to close with because it might help inspire some. How many of you have heard the poem Footprints in the Sand? Raise your hand. Okay, this is not that poem. One night I had a wondrous dream. One set of footprints there was seen, the footprints of my precious Lord, but mine were not along the shore. Then some strange prints appeared, and I asked the Lord, what have we here? Those prints are large and round and neat, but Lord, they are too big for feet. My child, he said in somber tones, for miles I carried you alone. I challenged you to walk in faith, but you refused and made me wait. You disobeyed, you would not grow. The walk of faith you would not know. So I got tired, I got fed up, and there I dropped you on your butt. Because in life there comes a time when one must fight and one must climb, when one must rise and take a stand or leave their butt prints in the sand. Thank you.